You've seen the title, and don't pretend it's not true. You know you suck at positioning. But don't worry, today I'll tell you how to fix that. Let's start with something simple. Your mentality. The average War Thunder player is someone who either picked up the game because it's free, because they wanted to play a proper military vehicle game, and then there's also the group who saw one of those War Thunder ads. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those things are everywhere. At this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if an ad showed up on a certain black and orange site. Anyway, most of you fall into one of these groups, and you've probably never played something like War Thunder before. So your game sense, it's probably built around FPS games or something that really doesn't apply here. And the first thing wrong with your mentality is how you look at the game. War Thunder leans more towards a simulation than most other games, even if it's still quite arcadey. That's most obvious when it comes to positioning, where patience and holding a spot will always beat someone who just holds W and rushes the cap. Now, if you're the type of player who can't sit still for more than 2 minutes because you need that dopamine hit from clicking on a tank, and then cry like a baby when someone holding a position kills you, yeah, you're not gonna be very good at positioning. You need to get rid of that rush and respawn mentality or you won't improve much. The other big mentality issue is how you think of tanks compared to humans. In an FPS, angles barely matter. A human's vulnerable from every direction. But in War Thunder, armor matters a lot. A tank can eat shots all day from the front, especially heavies. So your goal should be always to get on the side of your enemy, not face them head on. Alright, now let's talk about something you can actually put into practice. Positioning mostly revolves around 4 things. Your teammates, your enemies, the map, and the tank you're using. You can't build a good strategy without keeping all of these in mind. At the start of every match, do 3 things. Check the map, check the battle rating, and check the game mode. Is it the one with a single cap, 3 caps, or the one where each team has to defend their own point? What I usually do is this. I get a quick mental picture of where my enemies will go. After a few seconds, I see where my team's heading and how the balance of the spread looks. And then I decide which tank to use, based on the map, the battle rating, and then I finally decide where to go. There is a couple of things to consider when choosing your tank. When do you want to apply the most pressure, the battle rating, and map type. I'm gonna talk about the map types later in the video. In a down tier, you can bring out your heavies right away and try to snowball the match, or save them for later when the biggest enemy threats are gone. Light tanks shine more in up tiers, where they can flank easily due to their high speed. Their weak penetration in an up tier isn't a problem because of that. Compared to heavies or mediums, they tend to be slower and less effective because their armor is not that good in an up tier. But in a down tier, light tanks kinda get farmed. Everyone can pen them easily, while heavies and mediums can tank a lot of shots. Tank destroyers usually do fine in all situations. They either have strong armor and great guns, or they are fast with solid firepower. Mediums are the middle ground. Some are armored, others are speedy, and they can switch roles depending on the map. Anti-air vehicles are their own thing. If they got good penetration and speed, you can treat them like light tanks. Just be careful with distance, since their pen usually drops hard over range. If they can't pen tanks, stay safe and focus on planes. You might wonder why am I talking so much about tank choice, but trust me, it's important. The tank you bring completely changes how you should position. Now remember how I said to picture where the enemies go. Here's what I meant. Most players rush straight for capture points or flank around them. A smaller group hangs back to snipe from long range. Depending on your tank, your goal is to stop 1 or 2 of these groups. Heavies are perfect for holding or pushing main objectives. And if they've got a strong cannon, they can also knock out backline snipers. Just beware of fast flanking tanks. They are the biggest risk to your tank and mental health. Light tanks don't have the armor to brawl on objectives, and sometimes they can't even pen heavies from the front. Instead, use your speed. Get into side angles or sneaky positions where you can shoot without being spotted. Mediums are the in-between. They can pressure objectives while also keeping an eye on the flanks. They are more flexible than heavy tanks, but are still strong enough to fight on objectives. Tank destroyers usually have incredible guns for their BR. Unless you're playing Italy, Italy sucks. Use them to delete heavily armored targets, or if you're in a fast one that has a fast reload, flank and ambush lighter vehicles, steal while clearing heavies. Anti-air is special. If it can pen tanks, you can use it as a light tank. If it can't, park somewhere safe and farm planes. Now let's go over some of the examples on how to position with each tank class. Heavies first. Avoid positions that are open from all sides. You're not Hulk, you're a big slow target. Find a spot that covers at least 2 of your sides and gives you space to pull back after you fire or take damage. Ideally, you shouldn't be waiting for enemies with your armor. You should be waiting behind cover. For example, sit behind the corner of a house, with the building between you and the direction the enemies are coming from. That way you can peek, shoot, and pull back before they can react. Ideally, you should only need to cover one angle and not 2 or more. Light tanks are a whole different story. You need aggressive, smart positions, places where you can hit the side armor of enemies heading for the objectives. If you're sitting far away with no cover, that's not flanking, that's just sightseeing. Always have something between you, the enemies, and the enemy spawn to block their line of sight. And if possible, some cover behind you too, in case someone tries to outflank you. Tank destroyers can be played a few different ways depending on their style. If it's a fast one, you can use it as a light tank. If it's a big gun on a slow chassis, find a strong long-range position. But please, do not be that guy that sits next to a rock 100 meters away from spawn, sniping 2 enemies the entire game. That's not sniping, that's just wasting your time. A proper sniping position should cover at least 2 of these 3: objectives, flanks, or enemy routes. If you're just staring at a random hill in the middle of nowhere, your team's already down a gun. Entire tanks are their own challenge. You should aim to be within 50 to 500 meters of the enemy's side armor. Sometimes you'll just have to not take the shot because you don't have enough penetration. Like when you're playing the Wirbelwind against a KV-1. You're not winning that one. Before I continue, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and like if you find the video useful. And comment, what tank type do you think depends the most on positioning? In my opinion, it would be the light tanks. Next, we'll talk about how positioning changes depending on the map, because the same strategy won't work everywhere. I like to split War Thunder maps into 3 types: long range, short range, and medium range. Long range maps, usually open fields, are where most new players start struggling. The biggest issue I see is that people can't find proper cover. These maps are often emptier than my wallet. To fix that, avoid open zones completely or use the hills. Hills are the best cover you can get on these maps, but a lot of players ignore them because they're used to hiding behind rocks or buildings. Find tall hills that let you shoot over the ridge and drop back safely. But be careful, because some of the tanks don't have the gun depression for that. Always watch the distance between you and the next cover before you move. The last thing you want to do is get caught driving across an open field like a duck. Short range maps, usually city fights, are completely different. Sniping isn't really a thing anymore, and armor becomes way more important. Play around choke points, along streets, corners, and crossroads, and use sound to your advantage. Turning off your engine around a corner for an ambush can work wonders. And in these maps, your ears are often more important than your eyes. Medium range maps, or mixed ones, are where you can really show your skill. You've got the option to snipe, flank, or brawl, depending on your tank. Just play to your vehicle's strengths, and always stay aware of your surroundings. Now let's talk about something that affects your positioning more than anything else: your teammates. These fools can completely change your match. Sometimes they're the gods who wipe everything in front of them, and you barely see an enemy. Other times, they're the physical embodiment of a skill issue, and get flattened so hard that you're surrounded in 2 minutes. Some don't play the objective, and some just sit in spawn doing absolutely nothing. So, how do you fix that? You don't. You adapt. Adjust your position based on what your team is doing, and hope for the best. Try to fill the empty places. Try to ease the pressure on them where you can, and if the match is hopeless, well, tough luck. Just go next. Enemies are another big factor. Sometimes you'll have a buffet of 10 tanks all showing their side armor to you, and you'll rack up kills like crazy. Other times, the entire enemy team will just not come to your side at all. At that point, you can't really do much. Except maybe take a shower because they probably smelled you from 2 kilometers away. If enemies do not show up for a while, you might be tempted to move, but that's risky. They could appear at the moment you leave and shoot you, or arrive at your position after you're already gone. On the other hand, sitting there doing absolutely nothing also wastes time. Whether to move or not is something you'll learn with experience, by figuring out which areas are popular on the map. Now a little bonus advice. Your hardware can limit you more than you think. If you're playing on a potato PC at 720p with everything on low, face it, sniping isn't for you. Enemies at long range will be just a bunch of moving pixels, so stick to medium and short range fights where visibility isn't such a problem. And most importantly, experience is irreplaceable. You won't become good at positioning just by watching this video or any other guide. You need to play, experiment and figure out what works. The kills will come with time. And before I end this, I need to say something that applies to every War Thunder player. You guys watch so many guides, but how often do you actually use what you learn? You'll watch a video, go into a match, and then completely turn your brain off. That's the biggest mistake. You need to actively think about what you're doing, why you're moving somewhere, why you're aiming somewhere, how your positioning helps you. Once you start consciously applying what you learned, it will eventually become an instinct, like muscle memory, but it only happens if you think while you play. That's all the tips I've got for you today. I hope this video helped you understand positioning a bit better, and if it did, consider liking, subscribing, and commenting what guide or tank you want to see next. That's it for today. Go touch some grass now, and see you in the next video.